guys, I hope you're having a really good day today so far. So today we want to keep going with simplifying expressions, but instead of just looking at expressions, we're going to look at expressions that are in word problems. So we're going to try to kind of break down what is the problem asking us and how do we solve it. So I want to work probably like 3 problems with you, and so these are your notes, Unit 1, Lesson 2 notes. So if you haven't already gone to your Google Drive and opened up your Algebra 1 journal file, go ahead and do that now. And then you're going to want to go into Canvas, and there is in modules, in Unit 1 modules, under today's date, it should say Unit 1 Lesson 2 Journal Slides. So you're going to want to go and you're going to want to copy those slides, and you're going to want to paste them into your Algebra 1 journal at the bottom. We're going to keep pasting everything at the bottom so that everything's going in order. So it's very, very, very important that you are doing this when I'm asking you to put things into your journal and notes, because remember, your journal is going to be a major test grade every single 9 weeks. And so if you're just following along and doing your notes, it's an easy 100 test grade. So make sure that you are completing everything in your journal like I'm asking you to, because it'll kill you when I go to grade your journal if you haven't completed the things that I've asked, because I don't grade everything. I just pick and choose. So maybe you skipped one day, you decided not to do it, and that might be the one thing I choose to grade for completion, and then you might lose 20 points. Boom, right there. Okay, so it's very important that you're completing your journal. It's an easy thing to do. You're just following along with me. So if go ahead right now, pause the video and get these slides into your journal. Okay, so now hopefully you've done that. What you're going to need to do, I'm going to do the notes a little bit differently from now on. Instead of having you guys click and drag things over and type as much, I'm just going to put problems on a page like this, like you're seeing on these slides. And so what I want you to do is get a sheet of notebook paper or any kind of paper. It does not matter. And you are going to write what I'm writing, basically. You do not have to copy this problem down. In fact, do not copy this problem down. So what you're going to do is you're going to work it on your sheet of notebook paper, and then we're going to take a picture of your work and insert it into this slide, and I'm going to tell you how to do that at the end. Okay, so let's look at a few word problems together. So the first one here, whoops, my iPad just fell if you heard that big crash. It says, Susan's making a square cake and she's going to make a rectangular cake. Okay, so I'm already seeing some shapes here, so that might be important. I've got square cake, and then let me choose a different color. I've also got a rectangular cake. Okay, the square cake has a side length of, let's see, square cake has a side length represented by the expression 3 minus 2g. That seems like that might be important. The rectangular cake has a side length represented by the expression 4g plus 8 and a width represented by 4 minus g inches. Okay, so those seem like those might be kind of important too. So length 4g plus 8 and a width 4 minus g. Write and simplify an expression to represent the frosting in inches that would be needed to decorate the perimeters of both cakes. Okay, word problems. Oh man, they kill us sometimes. So when you read a whole bunch of words and it's a bunch of just jumbled up stuff, just stop. And I even suggest before you even read the problem, first go back and say, what are they asking me to find? It's usually towards the end of the problem. And hopefully sometimes there's a question mark. If there's not, look at the last sentence and see if they're asking you what to find. They usually tell you a whole bunch of stuff, then at the very end they actually get to the point, what do I want you to do? So look at our very last sentence here. What are they wanting me to find? Well, they want me to write and simplify an expression to represent the frosting in inches that would be needed to decorate, oh look, perimeters of both cakes. So I need to find the perimeters of both the cakes. So apparently Susan is going to take frosting, squeeze it out of a bag and go all the way around the top of these cakes on both of them. She's wanting to know in inches how much frosting is she going to need to go around the tops of both cakes, or maybe she's doing the bottom. I don't know. She's going around both cakes. Okay. So the next thing I would tell you in word problems, if they give you a shape, draw a picture. I know you guys know, you know what rectangles and squares and things look like, but trust me, draw that picture anyway. Okay, so we know we have a square cake, so pretend like this is a square. Miss Robinson is not good at drawing. So I'm glad I don't teach geometry. So I have a square. And now what did they tell me about my square cake? Well, they told me that it had a side length represented by 3 minus 2g. And I did kind of draw over the g, but you can see it right there. 3 minus 2g. So I know 3 minus 2g, that's a side length. Okay, I also know that I have a rectangular cake. So let me draw it over here. And they told me its dimensions too. Now, does it matter which dimension I put where? Nope. Just pick one. 4g plus 8, and then I have 4 minus g. Now, we know that I am looking for the perimeters of both cakes. So which means both cakes together. So I need the perimeter of the square, and I need the perimeter of this rectangular cake. So I've got to find two different perimeters, and then because I need both of them together, I got to add them up. So in order to do that, let's find the perimeter of our square cake first, okay? Now, I've only labeled one side. I highly recommend that you label all of your sides. It will be much easier to see what you're trying to add up, and you will not be tempted to accidentally forget to add up one of the sides. Now, here's what we've been doing. We have expressions, right? How do we add up expressions? Remember, there's a key thing that we do. We have to combine like, I hope you said terms. So we've got to figure out what are like terms here. Okay, well, I see that I have a bunch of 3's out front here. Those are like terms. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. I've got most of my important information on my shapes now. So I can add up all those 3's. I have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Great. What is that? Well, 3 plus 3 plus 3, that's 3 times 4. That's 12. Okay. Then I have all of these other terms that are like terms. I have these negative 2g terms right here. You see, I have 4 of them. So I've got to add all those up too. Negative 2g plus a negative 2g plus a negative 2g. And you can put the plus signs if you want. Negative 2g. Great. Now, how do I add up all these g's? Well, remember, to add like terms, you're simply adding the coefficients. You're just adding up the numbers in front. So a negative 2 plus a negative 2 plus a negative 2 plus a negative 2, whoops, is a negative 8g. So my perimeter of my square cake is, and you can write these in any order you want, negative 8g plus 12. Or you could write, well, 12 minus 8g. Same thing. Doesn't make a difference which order you write them in. Okay, great. We found the perimeter of our square. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to label all 4 sides of my rectangular cake now. Okay, so let's add up all these sides. Let's find our like terms. Well, I see I have a 4, and then I go over here. Now, don't be tempted to add in this 4g with that 4. Look very closely. Are those like terms? Well, this 4, does it have a variable? Nope. Does this term have a variable? Yeah, g. Remember, you have to add your g's up, and then you have to add your just your numbers by themselves, okay? So this 4 is a like term actually with this plus 8, this 4, and this plus 8. Do we even need to write these down? I mean, can't we just go through? Don't we know what 4 plus 8 is? Isn't that 12? Plus another 4 is 16. Plus another 8 is 24. Did I get that right? Let me do that again. 16 plus 8, yes. So we know we have 24. Okay, so now let's go add up our other terms. Well, I have a negative g plus 4g's plus a negative g plus a 4g. If you want to write them out in a column, absolutely you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're already seeing the patterns here, you can begin to skip some steps. Okay, so I know that 4 plus another 4g gives me 8g plus a negative g, well, that's 7g, plus another negative g, that leaves me with only 6g's. Okay, so here is the perimeter of my rectangular cake. So where is my answer? Remember, we need the perimeters of both cakes together. So now I have to add them up. So I have negative 8g plus 12. There's one perimeter, this one, plus this perimeter, 24 plus 6g. And now I have to simplify one more time. Okay, well, let me scoot up a little bit here. I can see that I have a negative 8g plus 6g. So negative 8g plus 6g. That should give me negative 2g's. And then I have, let me grab another color. I have plus 12 and plus 24. Well, 12 plus 24 gives me 36. So my final answer is negative 2g plus 36. Okay, yes, this was a very long problem. Okay, you did a great job hanging in there with me. But was it hard? No, it's exactly what we've been doing. We just had to do it twice. We really had to do it 3 times. We had to add like terms for the square, then we had to add them for the rectangle, then we had to add them both together. Okay, so yes, that one was a little long. Okay, well, let's look at another problem then together. Saul is fencing a rectangular garden and a triangular garden. Okay, so I'm seeing we have a triangular garden and let me get another color here. We also have a rectangular one. Okay, so I'm already seeing 2 shapes. The rectangular garden has length represented by 10k minus 3 and a width represented by 2k minus 2. Okay. What's it telling me about my triangular garden? Well, it has side lengths represented by 3k, 2k minus 1, and negative k. How much more fencing is needed for the rectangular garden than the triangular garden? Oh, okay, hang on here. How much more fencing is needed for the rectangular than the triangular garden? So, how much more fencing? What are we doing here? Are we going to be finding the perimeters for each one and then adding them up like we were a minute ago? See that we have 2 shapes and we're trying to fence around them. But the question is, how much more fencing? That's what's important there. More. So if I said, how much more money do you have than I have? What would you do? If you knew how much money you had, you knew how much money I had. Let's say you have $50 and I have $10. I said, how much more money do you have than I have? You're thinking right now, I have $40 more than you, Ms. Robinson. I have 50, you have 40. Okay. I mean, I have 50, you have 10. That's $40. How did you get that? I hope you're thinking right now, subtract. I had to subtract. Yes. So we're tempted to add here, but we don't need to. That's not what it's asking us to do. We actually need to subtract here. So let's draw our wonderful little shapes. So I have a rectangular garden. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label my sides. I know I have a 2k minus 2 and I have a 10k minus 3. So I'm going to label all my sides. Because if you guys don't label all 4 of your sides, you tend to forget to add up all of them on rectangles. Triangles, not so much. Rectangles, yes, you do. Triangles, we have to label all of our sides because it has 3 different sides. Okay, so let's find our perimeter for how about we do our rectangle first, okay? And I'm going to do the shortcut here. If you don't like the shortcut, then write them out in the columns like we have been. So I'm looking for my like terms. Okay, let me get some different colors here. I have a 10k plus 2 more k's. How many is that? Well, 10 plus 2 is 12. Plus 10 more, that's 22. Plus 2 more, that's 24 k's. Okay, different color. I have a negative 3 plus a negative 2. And guys, remember, you can pull your calculator out for this. Negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. Plus another negative 3 is negative 8. Plus another negative 2 is negative 10. There's my perimeter for my rectangle. How fast was that? I mean, really, how fast was that? We did that so quickly. Okay, I get another color. I have 3 k's plus a negative k. Yes, that's the same thing as 3k minus k. That's 2 k's plus 2 more k's. Well, that should be 4 k's. And look, I only have one little piece left, and that's negative 1, so I just have to write him down. Okay, awesome. Look how quickly we did that. So now we just need to figure out, well, how much more fencing is needed for the, pay very close attention, it says rectangular. So it says how much more is needed for the rectangular. So that must mean the rectangular one has more fencing. This one must be bigger. The rectangle must be much bigger. So which one do I subtract? Do I say rectangle minus triangle or triangle minus rectangle? So you have to think, which one's more? Well, if the rectangle's more, I need to subtract the triangle from it. So I actually need to say, let me see if I can find another color, 24k minus 10, subtract this piece over here, 4k minus 1. Now, you will make a huge, huge mistake if you do not put parentheses around this, because you actually have to subtract the whole thing. You have to subtract the entire perimeter, not just the 4K. If you don't put parentheses around it, you're just going to end up subtracting the 4K. And what might even be a better way to do this problem is if we do line this one up in a column. So I'm writing the same things, I'm just getting different colors so that we can differentiate here. Okay, so what if we have 24K minus 10? That's the perimeter of our rectangle. Subtract the perimeter of our triangle. Let's try it like that. Okay, so this big subtraction sign is out front. So I have 24, subtract 4. Oh, we know that's 20Ks. I have negative 10, subtract negative 1. Put that in your calculator. Negative 10, subtract negative 1. You should get negative 9. So there's your answer, 20K minus 9. I think sometimes it's easier if you do it in a column when we're subtracting especially, okay? So don't think you're stuck to writing everything out in a horizontal line. Like, we can still subtract and subtract in columns, just like you have your entire educational mathematics careers. One more problem. George is building a garden in his backyard. He wants the garden to have a total area of 3h plus 54. He knows the length can be measured by h plus 18. How wide will the garden need to be? I'm just now thinking, like, you may be working these problems on the same page, and that is completely fine. Don't worry about that. When you take your picture, you can crop the picture if you want after you get it into your slide, or if you just want to try to get the number 1 just in your camera view, that's fine. So don't think you need to be writing these on 3 separate sheets of paper. If you are, that's fine. If you're not, it's still fine. Okay, don't worry about it. Okay, so George is building his garden in his backyard. He wants it to have a total area, so that must be important, of 3h plus 54. He knows the length, so he knows this is our area here. And he knows that the length can be measured by h plus 18. How wide will the garden need to be? So what are they asking us to find? Aha, this one has a question mark. What is the question mark asking you to find? Well, it's asking you to find the width. How wide is his garden? So this garden must be a rectangle because we're talking about length and width. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw our wonderful little pictures here. So I know that the length is like h plus 18. It doesn't matter which one you make the width and which one you make the length. I know that my area is 3h plus 54. I'm looking for my length right here. What does my length equal? That's the question. Okay, so how do you find area? Let's think about this. How do we find area of something? Well, area of a rectangle is always the length times the width. So we know the width, but we don't know the length. But we know the length was multiplied by the width in order to get our area. So in other words, we kind of have to work backwards here. Okay, guys? We know that we had some number, we don't know what it was, and we multiplied it times our width. So we had a length, and we said times, that's what parentheses mean, times this number here, or this expression, h plus 18. And we got this value here for area. So what was it? What did we multiply out here to get this expression right here? So we have to think about how we multiply with parentheses when we have two terms inside our parentheses in algebra. Remember, we do something called distribute, okay? So we had to distribute in order to multiply these two things here and get this expression here. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, well, what exactly number was sitting out front here? Because if we had a number sitting out front and we multiplied it times this and we got, let me do some different colors. So we had a number here and we multiplied it times this term and we got this term. And then we took that same number and we multiplied it times 18 and we got 54. What's the number? We need to work backwards. So let's think about it. So what number times h would give us 3h? And will that same number, if we multiplied it times 18, give us 54? What about 3? 3 times h, yep, 3h. 3 times 18, that is 54. So our length here has to be equal to 3. There's no other option for it. It has to be 3. That's the only thing that's going to give us 3h plus 54 after we distribute. So this one doesn't take a lot of work. It's actually pretty simple, but we got to do some thinking. We got to stop and we got to think backwards. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to begin working on the simplifying expressions task cards. No, I think it's called expressions word problems task cards, but it's right below this video in the Unit 1 modules to enter today's date. You do not have to finish them today. They are not going to be due today. They probably will be due Wednesday, but that's what you're going to work on, and that's what you're going to work on tomorrow as well. On Wednesday, we will take a quiz. So if you're a Roar at Home student, you will take your quiz online in Canvas. So you have today and tomorrow to work. There's 10 problems, and take it slow, work through them. If you need help, send me an email, tell me what number you're stuck on, and I will make a video for you, no problem. Okay, so, but these 3 problems that I just worked, you're going to see problems very, very similar to these on those task cards, okay? So rewatch this video as many times as you need, and then I am going to come over here and I'm going to show you how to actually take your work that you've just done on paper, working along with me in this video, and actually put it into your journal in Google Slides. Okay, so once you have your work on your paper, the easiest way for you to insert your work into a Google slide is actually very simple. So you guys know how to insert images. You're really good at that. So what I want you to do is, number 1, wherever on your paper you worked problem number 1, and I just want problem number 1 on this slide, you would insert your work for problem number 2 on the next slide, and then your work for problem number 3 should go here, okay? So try to only take a picture of problem number 1 when you go, but here's the easiest way to do it. You see at the top here where it says insert, and then there's an image. So the easiest way for you to do is to go to insert image. You can, if you've taken a picture, you can upload. I'm not sure if it looks exactly the same on a Chromebook though, because I'm on a laptop, but you can like upload the image from your Chromebook. If you've done that, that's fine. Or if you want, you can just click camera here. Now that's going to come on and you're probably going to see an image of my ceiling. Look at that. But yeah, then you would just take the picture of my ceiling. Let's do that. And then you see how it puts the picture here? You would just click insert. You can move it around and you can resize it as big as you want. I suggest clicking and click the corners because that way it doesn't change like the it doesn't change the ratio and doesn't like skew your picture and stretch it. But yeah, that's all you need to do. Take a picture of your work. You can insert it that way. Again, so insert, image, camera, and then hold your work up to your camera on your Chromebook. Try to steady it and make it as clear as possible so that you could go back and read it. But if you want to use your cell phone, that is completely fine. Take a picture with your cell phone and send it to your school Gmail. And then from there, you can save it to your Google Drive and you could put it there. And it's probably going to be a much clearer picture if you do that. You have so many options if you're at home. But yeah, just take a picture and insert your work here. And this is how our notes are going to work from now on. This is the easiest way for me to get notes to you in journal slides. So you'll be working on scratch paper and then you will just insert it into your slide from there. All right.